Good. One today is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Jump date for Thursday, 13th. All right, let's go. Well, a little bit of a bounce in CCL. As far as new setups, we'll take a look at that 1 second. As far as new setups, Dash, and there's a couple other ones in here that are catching my eye. On the short side, we're going to have tons and tons of shorts as this market begins to rally, or when this market finally begins to rally in earnest. But for now, we are seeing a few shorts beginning to set up. And I'll walk you through some of these in just 1 second. CCL, a little bit of a bounce there, obviously. It's had a pretty good slide as of late, so no big shocker on that. Dash, this is a potential short. Make sure, of course, you wait for an entry. I like these shorts that are still at high levels, all-time highs or near all-time highs, ideally, and they're just in their first leg down. So the next leg is where the money is, as we saw like at CCL. And speaking of CCL, some of these other cruise lines are beginning to set up. So as they pull back, we might go after them. But that is nice confirmation with the CCL. And here's Viking. And what else did I want to show you? Eats, another stock that looks like it's in trouble longer term. A little bit of support below, though, but in the early phases of rolling over from high levels. Leisure-related, consumer spending type of stocks, or consumer discretionary, I guess. Looked like they're in a little trouble in here. Here's Netflix pulling back a little bit as a bow tie slash first thrust type of setup. Let's take a look at the overall market and some sector action, obviously. First of all, we'll take a look at the P's. S&P 500 up a little, but really not to get excited. Nothing to get excited about. This is nearly a 10-point slide in here. That's a fairly ugly slide. Peak to trough, probably 10%. I said 10% slide. And just a little bounce today. Just certainly nothing to get excited about. It didn't even hold the open. So that's hard to get excited about right there. This market remains so far in a free fall. I'd like to see a bounce, and we're probably due for. We are due for a bounce, is what I should say, from oversold. It just hasn't happened just yet. As I said in Facebook earlier, it just doesn't feel like a washout just yet. So Nasdaq Composite looking ugly in here, still well below that 200-day moving average. Take a look at the Rusty 2000. Tried to rally, came back in. Look at that, barely up on the day. Just not much of a bounce there. Certainly nothing to get excited about. It's almost like we need a washout in here. Gold, a commodity, doing okay, not too far from all-time highs. Gold stocks a little wide and loose, but improving nonetheless. Software remains below the 200-day simple moving average, rallied a little bit, as I would say, quite a bit. Some of these areas that made new highs have come all the way back in. In this case, this is internet all the way back down to the 200 simple moving average. One thing that's a bit of a bummer is some of the stronger areas, like medical devices, have made 100% retrace, and then some from their recent breakout. So that's of some concern. And if you take a look at like major drugs, you can see it's not the end of the world just yet, but they've pulled back fairly hard in here, back below the 200-day simple moving average. And the point I'm getting to is sometimes you think, okay, well, the market's really iffy. Let me go after some of these defensive areas. And sometimes, especially if they're hanging in there, it can become the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Food's another one of those areas that had been hanging in there, another defensive area, getting whacked pretty hard today. Not the end of the world, but getting whacked nonetheless. Take a look. This is another foods. I'm sorry, this is entertainment. Has been getting whacked hard in here as of late. Obviously, we're short CCL. Take a look at the semiconductors. A little bit of a bounce today, 3%. I know, more than a little, but squint your eyes, it doesn't look like much, right? Tons and tons of overhead supply so far. Just a little bit of a pullback, even though it had that massive or somewhat massive rally today. Opening gap reversal in financials, only up a smidge on the day, so that's a sector that looks like it's in a lot of trouble. And our RS space is one of the stronger areas, but as I alluded to a second ago, the bigger they are, sometimes the harder they fall. Mags would be a good example of prior leaders becoming laggards. You can see big slide there. So far, just pulling back a little bit below that 200 simple moving average. I think you get the point by now. It's pretty ugly out there, and again, it just doesn't feel like we had the washout move just yet, and we also haven't had much of a bounce just yet. So take things one day at a time. Of course, wait for entries. The shorts we get to set up, it's sort of like darned if you do, darned if you don't. As I often preach, if you're short oversold, it bounces. If you don't short it, oversold becomes even more oversold. But I think it's worth a shot going after the dash going into Thursday, and obviously we'll reevaluate things on a day-by-day basis. I think that's it for tonight. Everybody have a fantastic night. If you have any questions, you know the routine. Thank you so much.